Hello YouTube, it is your boy GZTV back with another video, and in this video we are going to be reviewing the 2008 American found footage monster film directed by Matt Reeves, produced by J.J. Abrams, and written by Drew Goddard. The cast, not super stacked or anything. There might be a couple of decent actors and actresses in here, but we're going to review this thing. I'm going to be going through the plot. This is a spoiler review. Everything that happened in this movie is going to be discussed, and we're also going to look at critics and kind of give my own thoughts on the movie. So, yeah. So getting into the plot, we've obviously done found footage films on this channel before. We've done a decent amount of them, actually. So the film is presented as footage from a personal camcorder recovered by the U.S. Department of Defense in the area formerly known as Central Park, bearing a disclaimer stating multiple sightings of a case designated Cloverfield, which is obviously where the movie gets its namesake from. And there's some interesting things, the found footage elements are kind of unique in this movie, but I don't know. Found footage has never really been my thing. There's a couple of decent movies with it. It's never good, though. So this earlier footage, recorded on April 27th, 2008, shows Robert Rob Hawkins waking up with Elizabeth Beth McIntyre in her father's apartment above Columbus Circle before embarking on a date across New York City and Coney Island. So these two are obviously in love with each other, want to spend the rest of their lives together. Yeah. Fragments of this overwritten footage appear during the course of the film. You get kind of little flashbacks, and it's kind of cool. It's a somewhat, effective way of portraying some found footage. I don't know. But Rob is a farewell party on May 22nd, 2008, which is less than a month after this footage, thrown by his brother Jason and Jason's girlfriend Lily Ford, celebrating his new job as vice president for a company in Japan. So he pretty much got a big break. He's able to go overseas and work for these people. And yeah, it's looking like he's got things going for him and whatnot. Jason gets Rob's best friend Hudson Hud Platt to film testimonials for Rob during the party. I guess it only seems right. Feels right, whatever. Beth, whose feelings are hurt because Rob never called her back after their one night together, brings a new man to the party. So I guess these were newly acquainted people. It's a really weird story, and they don't really give a whole lot of background on it. I'm not sure how I feel about it. She brings a new man, which is crazy. Beth and Rob argue, and she leaves shortly before a massive earthquake occurs, causing a brief citywide power outage. The local news reports a capsized oil tanker near Liberty Island, which is obviously where the Statue of Liberty is. And if you've seen the movie picture, it's kind of funny because it kind of matches with my background a little bit. You see in the movie picture, obviously there's no head on the Statue of Liberty. The head falls off and flies through the city. It's kind of crazy. This shit is wild. And this could possibly never happen to us. I don't want to jinx anything, obviously, but just think about what would happen if something this bad happened. And it's crazy. This movie only was filmed 7 years after 9/11, so they were definitely kind of keeping stuff like that in mind. It's crazy. From the roof, the partygoers witness an explosion in the distance and flee as flaming debris flies in their direction. And at first it's okay, this is a little attack. They're going to neutralize the aggressor and we're going to be good. No, then they're just going to start to realize soon that, holy shit, this is fucked. We're all going to die. There's no way we escape this. So as the partygoers leave the building, the severed head of the Statue of Liberty is hurled into the street in front of them. So in the chaos, HUD records an enormous creature several blocks away collapsing the Woolworth building. It would just be so fucked up if a crazy non-human thing just came through and wrecked everything. What would you do about it? What would you be able to do about that? What could you do? When the group attempts to evacuate Manhattan, the creature's tail destroys the Brooklyn Bridge, killing Jason and dozens of other people. So throughout the film, it's a typical horror movie. People start to die. News reports show the Army National Guard's 42nd Infantry Division attacking the monster. So they're going face on, shooting RPGs, rifles, tanks, all sorts of cannons. Smaller parasitic creatures fall off its body and attack nearby pedestrians and soldiers. And this is where you get to okay, this movie might be overdoing it with the creature feature here. Not only is it just this big-ass fucking monster that's bigger than any building in New York, we have these small-ass little, arachnid, weird, the size of a fucking, a lion or a tiger or something attacking people. It is kind of crazy. So Rob listens to a phone message from Beth, who is trapped in her apartment at the Time Warner Center and unable to move. So Rob, followed by Hud, Lily, and Hud's crush, Marlena Diamond, venture into Midtown Manhattan to rescue her. So they're on a rescue mission. Obviously, you're supposed to be evacuating the city when an emergency like this happens, but no. They said, fuck that, we're going to save Beth. She's really important to us, of course. And yeah. So okay. Let's see. So they find themselves in a battle between the creature and military, run into the subway, and are attacked by several of the parasites. It's crazy. Like, they're in the middle of a fucking war zone. So they find the subway, run in there. And several parasites find them. So while saving Hud, Marlena is bitten by one of the creatures. It's crazy. I don't know. The four escape the subway and enter an underground mall where she begins to feel unwell. There's some crazy symptoms when you get bit by the parasites, and they're starting to find this out throughout the night. They are found by soldiers and taken to a command center nearby. When Marlena begins bleeding from her eyes, she is forcibly taken to a field hospital and her body literally explodes. That's what happens when you get bit by these parasites, and when they're bacteria and shit get inside you. You just fucking explode. It's kind of crazy. It's fucking disgusting too. It's probably one of the more gruesome parts of the film. Rob, still intending on saving Beth, persuades one of the military commanders to let them go because they're thinking about just rescuing them and taking them off. But no, he wants to rescue Beth. He's informed when the last evacuation helicopters will depart because the military executes its hammer down protocol, which will destroy Manhattan in its entirety in order to kill the monster. You have to just mass destruct, and hopefully something hits this monster. It's wild. So the surviving group travels to Beth's apartment building and discover it leaning on a neighboring skyscraper. How convenient, how plot convenient is that? That's, So after crossing roofs from the other building and they're climbing up all these stairs, the group finds Beth impaled on exposed rebar. How the fuck did she just survive this? The rebar is through this side of her body, which is where your heart is. It's how the fuck did you survive this? This movie makes no sense in a lot of senses, in a lot of ways. It doesn't make sense at all. They free her and make their way to the evacuation site at Grand Central Terminal, where they encounter the creature again. They just keep running into this thing, because obviously everyone else is running off, so the creature is finding them. So Lily's first rushed into a departing Marine Corps helicopter to escape before the terminal is destroyed. Moments later, Rob, Beth, and Hud are taken away in a second helicopter and witness the creature being bombed, and they think, oh, it's taken down, we're good. The bombing causes the creature to fall and success is assumed, but then it lunges out of the smoke, hitting the second helicopter and causing it to crash in Central Park, killing all the occupants except Rob, Beth, and Hud. Wow, more plot convenience, eh? It's fucking crazy. Obviously, those characters are so important to this story that it can't just end off there, can it? So, 15 minutes before the hammer down protocol is to commence, the trio regain consciousness and attempt to flee. Hud turns back to retrieve the camera when the creature suddenly appears and kills him, and wow, how ironic is that? This whole film thing, and you care so much about this camera, you turn back and boom, you're dead, So Rob and Beth grab the camera. They were still able to grab the camera somehow. Well, where the hell did the monster go? And take shelter under an arch as sirens blare and their bombing starts. Rob and Beth each provide their last testimony of the day's events so people can kind of have it on record. The bridge begins to crumble and the camera is knocked out of Rob's hands and buried beneath the rubble. Rob and Beth proclaim their love for each other just as the bomb explodes, the camera freezing up before the footage cuts. Obviously, that's assuming they're dead. The film ends with the finale of Rob and Beth's trip to Coney Island a month earlier. Unseen by them, an indiscernible object falls from the sky and into the ocean. Just before the camera cuts out, Beth states, "I had a good day." It's really weird. This thing, I guess, morphed into a creature. So after the credits, a voice can be heard saying, "Help us." When played in reverse, it says it's still alive. Wow, so fucking intelligent. I guess it's kind of cool and kind of creepy and creates this weird, eerie air vibe. And people are obviously having their, theories. Oh, this is supposed to hint at a sequel. And yes, this movie has, 3 or 4, or this franchise has, 3 or 4 movies. So I guess they were right in a way. But let's get into the review, man. So getting into the review, I've seen people on Twitter forums and stuff talking about this film, so I was kind of hyped about this. I thought this was going to be a pretty good movie. I had quite the expectations. Then I found out it was found footage, and I was like, ay, really? But I don't know. I don't think it's a good movie. It's a sort of Blair Witch Project crossed with Godzilla. Cloverfield is economically placed. Pretty clever stylistically, filled with scares. I just don't think it's a great movie. It's okay. A lot of people like it. I mean, it's probably one of the most intense and original creature feature movies that's been seen for the time, I guess. A pure blood, exhilarating monster movie. Matt Reeves' direction, I mean, the whip smart, stylistically invisible script, the nearly subconscious evocation of our current paranoid, terror-phobic times. It is really cool. It happens in New York, so there's some like commentary to it, like, oh, this could happen any time. Obviously 9/11 happened. I mean, there were a lot of keys to the film's success. Like, it did good in theaters. I'm just not sure about it. Telling the story through the lens of one character's camera worked somewhat well, I guess. It's somewhat effective. I mean, the effects were great. The film's claustrophobic intensity was pretty cool. The characters aren't particularly interesting or developed. There was something refreshing about a monster movie that isn't filled with the usual suspects. It is cool to see a monster movie that's in found footage. I will say that there's a lot of uniqueness in that regard for this film. The film was surreptitiously subversive, a stylistically clever little gem, while the characters were vapid 20-something nincompoops and the acting appropriately unmemorable. The decision to tell the stories through amateur footage was pretty cool. I will give it to him. It's pretty scary at times. I mean, it's not really, jump scare, but it can get kind of scary at times. I mean, unmistakable evocations of 9/11, of course. All in all, it is a pretty effective film, deploying its special effects well and never breaking the illusion that it is all happening as we see it. So, I mean, the film's an old-fashioned monster movie dressed up in trendy new threads. The special effects, the nihilistic attitude, the post-9/11 anxiety overlay was great. I mean, in the end, it's not much different from all the marauding creature features that have come before it, in my opinion. The film's use of scenes reminiscent of the September 11 attacks in New York City is pretty cheap and opportunistic. It is cool to kind of play on that, but it's also kind of fucked up, really, if you think about it. The film was engaging in stealth attempts at social commentary. Films of Don Siegel, George A. Romero, Steven Spielberg were of the like. Where those filmmakers, I mean, all had something meaningful to say about the state of the world and human nature, Abrams doesn't have much to say about anything here. It's just a film. I mean, the illusions are tacky. The images may make you think of the attack, and you may curse the filmmakers for their vulgarity, insensitivity, or lack of imagination, but the film is too dumb to offend anything except your intelligence. So, yeah, that's really all it is. The film works as a showcase for impressively realistic-looking special effects, a realism that fails to extend to the scurrying humans whose faces are meant to invoke pity and fear, but instead inspire yawns and contempt. The film's badly constructed, humorless, and emotionally sadistic. The film takes the trauma of 9/11 and turns it into just another random spectacle at which to point and shoot. The viewer may feel queasy at the references to 9/11, but that other sequences carry a real jolt. Such tactics crude but undeniably gripping. The film's pretty dumb but quick and dirty and effectively brusque. Despite it being a harsher, more demographically calculating brand of fun, the film's pretty cool, I guess. I don't know if I enjoyed it. I will say the ending is pretty garbage, and I feel like that's where I should leave you guys off at. The ending is the worst ending of any fucking horror movie damn near I've ever seen. Like, I had a good day, and you end the fucking film on that. What happened to the characters? What happened after the creature? I guess that's what the sequels were for. Maybe the ending isn't so bad, and that there's a shitbox outside. Now knowing that there's a sequel involved, even I think a trilogy even. I don't know. I don't really like this movie. I think it's cool. Maybe for the time it was a little bit better than it is 15 years later. It's whatever. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I talked about that way more than I probably should have because I really don't care for this movie at all, and I definitely don't want to come back to it. That's how it is with a lot of found footage. I just am not a big found footage fan. It's never struck in me as a good genre. No, I just can't. I can't do it. So hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. Tonight we're going to be doing an NBA recap of the two games. I mean, if whatever games are good tonight. Otherwise, I'm not going to have an NBA recap at all. But yeah, no.